Shalom, all praises to the Most High. Anoka said, praise be to the earthly mother, the Kahe, the Holy Spirit, in the name of his only begotten Son, Motsah the Lamb, unification to the nation. So today we're going to go over what is the shofar actually, because this is a well-known instrument when it comes to the Hebrews. This was used, with our instruments, as far as especially the kings, they use instruments to worship the Most High. David wrote the Psalms, and these psalms or songs are actually supposed to be sung. But this is really why they hid our instruments. See, you'll notice that everything that they do regarding the true location of Israel and the true people of Israel, of the Most High, they'll really try to bury and hide all of their stuff, including their instruments. But we're going to speak about an instrument that is the more well known, I should say. So first we're going to go to let's see. This is 2 Samuel 6 verse 14. And David danced before the Lord with all his might, and David was girded with a linen ephod. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting and with the sound of the trumpet. And, that's the so-called shofar. But look at this. In the original sense of incensing, a cornet as giving a clear sound, or curved horn, right? A curved horn. From the root word to glisten, that is figuratively to make fair and goodly. I'm just showing you what it is, but it's based on some sort of curved horn, right? That this shofar, this trumpet, is based off of. So all they do is curve a trumpet horn and give it to you and say, this is the shofar. It was made out of a how you say it? Is it a goat or a lamb, or no, it's something else. I think it's a ram, like a ram horn, and they make it into a trumpet or a horn. Well, I don't believe that was the original horn, right? But remember, it was a curved horn. So let's go back. Now, a strumpet or a conch. This is also classified as a trumpet of some sort, a horn, if you will. And I'm going to show you where this was used. The conch instrument, also known as a sea shell horn or a shell trumpet, is a wind instrument that is made from a conch, the shell of several different kinds of sea snails. And honestly, I always thought, I didn't say anything, but I always thought that, the shofar that brothers be using, it's not a very pleasant sound. It sounds very rough. I never really liked those like brass instruments and things of that sort. I mostly like, like flutes and drums and things of that sort, because they're much more easier on the ears, right? They produce a much more positive melodic sound. But look at where this is used mainly. Conch shells have been played in many Pacific Island countries as well as South America and Southern Asia. So there you go. This is where the conch horn or shell trumpet is usually played. The Pacific Islands, South America, and Southern Asia. Right? All places that the Israelites were. Now, if any of you brothers are from Africa, maybe you guys know something about some sort of wind trumpet instrument influence, because I'm pretty sure that there has to be some sort of influence when it comes to South America or the Pacific Islands and what you brothers in Africa play. as far as your instruments. Has to be. Because there is with your clothes. There is with many other things. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was with your instruments as well. Now, let's get into this. Well, hold up. But they classified conches, that most conches are natural horns. See, these are natural horns. These were naturally made, to be played as a horn. This is pretty much like a lower frequency flute, but it's still a wind instrument. It's not a brass instrument, right? Now let's get into some history. The Aztecs played conch shells. When they showed a picture of what the Urim and Thummim looks like, it looks like an ancient Mesoamerican structure of some sort. So now that we know who or where the origins are, now we can find out what our actual stuff was. Because when they show the Urim and Thummim, they show a crystal ball and all this and that. That's because they're copying something. And when you're copying something and you're replicating something, it's not going to make sense. It's not going to be the same thing. They are a replica. Remember when I went over the movie Us? They are a carbon copied replica, and they're not a very good replica. They're like an evil replica. So they use conches and throughout Mesoamerica. During the Aztecs or way before the Aztecs, they were still doing it because the Quechua were using it, right? The Quechua, as we went over, probably the oldest language in the world. And the Inca descendants, they used the conch shell or the conch horn. They used this instrument. We went over, we went over who the Incas were. If you guys have seen the Sons of Judah video, I showed you that the Inca are the tribe of Judah. The Nagas, many of them were the tribe of Judah. Those same tribe of Judah, they went to different areas, went to the Middle East, went to Japan, went to Africa, established kingdoms. So let's move on. Now that you know that the Inca used it, let's go to this. I need to drink some water. 3,000-year-old conch trumpets play again. Now you can hear a marine-inspired melody from before the time of the Little Mermaid's hot Crustacean band. Okay, I don't need to see that. The well-preserved, ordinately decorated shells found at pre-Inca religious site at Peru offered researchers a rare opportunity to jam on primeval. Oh, I got the burps, man. What the heck? Instruments. The music, powerfully haunting and drowning, could have been used in religious ceremonies, the signs say. What does that sound like? Trumpets in religious ceremonies? So, and they're doing something at the Pan-American Iberian Meeting Acoustics. And it says you could really feel it in your chest. It has a rough texture like a tonal animal roar. Right? It's not like roar. It doesn't sound like a fart. No. It sounds like an animal roar. You have to understand, guys, we were connected to nature. We didn't just do these things just because it's written in a book. That's what the so-called face rats do. Not the so-called face rats, the face rats do. They see something in a book and they're copying it because they don't really know. They lost a lot of their knowledge based on us. And if they have it, then they've destroyed it because they don't want to replicate it, because they don't want to show the origins. Because if they make something out of conch, if they make a shofar out of conch, then they're pretty much telling you where the origin is. But if they're going to make it out of a ram's horn and say, oh, this is the curved horn, then they can keep the lie going, even if it's just not true. Let's skip down. I'm going to leave this link in the description. He says, as an expert shell musician blew into the horn, researchers recorded the sound's paths via 4 teeny microphones placed inside the player's mouth. The shell's mouthpiece, the shell's main body, and at the shell's large opening or bell, similarly to a bulge. The instruments only sound one or two tones, but like a French horn, the pitch changes when the player plunges his hand into the bell. Okay, we don't need to read all that. Were they used to scare people while they were there? There are still a lot of things open. So they don't know. It says what your ear can actually hear plays into how you would behave or the psychological experience in the situation. Ancient civilizations in Peru might have played this 3,000-year-old shell trumpet as a part of a religious ceremony. New research has constructed what the instrument would have sounded like inside the religious site's ceremonial chamber. So this isn't necessarily a curved trumpet, right? But I am going to show you one, because I don't think all of them were curved trumpets, but what I did see was something very interesting. Let's go down to this Peruvian music. The Peru music is a fusion of sounds and styles drawing from Peru's Andean, Spanish, and African roots. So there you go. They even have so-called African roots that they think that they got there during slavery. No, those African roots and Iberian roots were already there because the Israelites were already there. For the Incas, music and dance and song were defined by the term taki. Inca music was pentatonic. Pentatonic? That sounds like actually, I don't even know what that sounds like. Let me not comment. The dance, music, and singing were present in all community activities or rituals. The Incas used a wide variety of musical instruments. Why do you think, as a people, we love music so much? We get into these things. We get into dance and music and athletics. Even athletics. They were playing soccer and basketball before they got here. They had sports before they got here. Now they set it up to their gods, and we were probably doing the same thing, right? But I'm just saying we had all this stuff here. We're just doing things that we did before. But they have just harnessed it and made it us serve like their power, right? Pretty much. Even though we were kind of serving their power before, but now, not anymore, but before, we were pretty much their batteries and their matrix. The Peruvians used their music to express their feelings. The Incan music usually used to worship their gods. So there you go. They used music religiously or ritualistically. So how did they use the trumpet? How did they use the conch? Well, let's see what the trumpet looked like, or what it sort of looked like, what this conch shell looked like. So I showed you what the trumpet was, right? The strumpus was, right? Right? It's a conch, right? Let's go to this. This is what they found here. Okay, it's not loading, but the heck is this, bro? Stop playing with me. Let's just go to images. These are the Moshe of Peru. Do I have to explain to you what Moshe means? The Levites. Look, he's even holding a conch, but this is a flute or some sort of trumpet that's carved, that was used, with bone, right? Okay, this stuff is kind of acting weird right now. There we go. This was an instrument. Let me show now. Why am I showing you all this? Because I wanted to show you the Incan instrument. Look at this. So either have little drums out of puma skin or maybe lion skin, because they love to say, oh, they had pumas in Peru before. They didn't have lions, right? Tupac Inca Yupanqui, he said that his father, Pachacuti, called this the Lion City, right? But you're telling him, no, you're wrong. It was the Panther City, or it was the Puma City. Oh, okay. Now look at this. The Ga'a Ya Kepas. Trumpets made out of what? Made out of what? And would you look at that? It's curved too. So a curved trumpet that's made out of strombus, right? Conch, the natural trumpet. It's all fitting, isn't it? So where are the origins? Where are the origins? Everything is pointing to South America. Everything. I'm about to get me one myself. I'm not gonna hold you. Get me a conch shell. Before I end the video, they use this. They would blow it during sunrise and sunset. So I might just get me one just to do it. A real shofar. You feel me? And if you guys know any hookups, let me know. But I don't know. I might buy one before you guys even see this. So have a blessed day. Shalom. Selah Kala. Shalom. So I did a little bit more research and I decided to add this onto the video that I did on the true shofar, because I felt like, maybe I didn't make a strong enough argument. And there's still a lot, you can dig on regarding this, but I'm just going to give you a little bit more. Let me let you guys hear this. This is, of course, in 432 frequency, like everything. Got to be on that 432 frequency. Get off that McDonald's frequency as 432 the drop be saying. That's real stuff. Get off that frequency. Get on the correct frequency. They found our instruments tuned to 432 hertz when they came here. So this is the hertz that I use. I suggest you do the same. But anyway, let me play this for you. So what do you hear? You hear the conch, you hear drums, you hear flutes. You hear pretty much, or what people would call an African influence, a Pacific Islander influence. As I've been trying to tell you guys, we are Afro-Asians. That's what we are. Trying to tell people, maybe it'll start to stick. This is our culture. This is the real culture that we have, not the Mediterranean, Middle Eastern culture. That culture was given to them by King David when he forced them to convert after he kicked their butts. You guys are mimicking a mimicked culture. They're just mimicking us and doing it wrong. Get back to the roots. Anyway, we're going to, discuss something, because I made a comment regarding the ram's horn and I didn't clarify, or I didn't specify, and I think I should. So pretty much the shofar was used for, two instances that I can remember in the scriptures. It's used for wartime and it's used for religious ceremonies, right? And if we just go, we can see this. And the Levites stood with the instruments of David, and the priests with the trumpets or the shofars, right? The priests had the trumpets or the shofars. God has gone up with a shout, the Lord with the sound of a trumpet. With trumpets and sound of a cornet, make a joyful noise before the Lord the King. I don't see how, the noise of a ram's horn is joyful. I don't see it. I mean, hey, I just don't see it. It don't really make sense. The land over there isn't joyful. Their instruments aren't joyful. They're just, it's just weird, bro. It's just weird. Praise him with the sound of the trumpet. Praise him with the psaltery and harp. Let's move down. Blow the trumpet in Zion. A day of the trumpet, and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. For if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself to the battle? So as you can see, a trumpet is significant for action, war, right? And it's also used in religious ceremonies. Now let's go to Joshua chapter 6, because this is the only reason why people think that this trumpet is a ram's horn, and that's because of what it says. It says, and 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets of ram's horns, right? So we look up this word, and it says apparently the blast of a horn from its continuous sound, specifically the signal of the silver trumpets, hence the instrument itself and the festival thus introduced. Jubilee, or ram's horn trumpet. They inserted rams, right? They're implying that this means ram's horn. This is what I showed you guys in another video, when they imply that Yam is referring to the Mediterranean Sea and not the Great Sea, because they're trying to fit things in a land, in a proxy land, and not the original land. I don't say that every single thing in the scriptures happened in the Americas. No, that's not true. Really, after the time or during the time of David and Solomon, some of the things did happen over there in the Pacifics and or in the Middle East. Some of the prophecies are talking about over there. But the original lands that were given to us by Moses and Joshua are over here, some in Africa, some in the Pacific Islands. So let's look this up. So the word for ram is ayil. Like that dude Ayil, right? It means a ram, right? That's what the word means. You can see all the reference to the word ram. Let's see how many times it's used to reference the word ram, if I can find it. Well, you'll just see, right? It's used a lot to reference the ram. Oh, it says 183 occurrences. Wow. That's a lot of occurrences, right? Right? Let's go to a horn. Kurin, or K-rin. That's how you supposedly say it, right? It says horn, horns, might, ray, strength, tusks. So when it's referring to tusks or a horn of maybe like a goat, the word is kerin, right? How many times is this word used to describe it? 76. Oh, that's a lot, right? That's a lot, right? Now let's look at yobil, because this is the word that they say is a ram's horn, right? So how many times is it used to describe a ram's horn? Oh, only about 5 times, and 1 time to describe a ram. So they took the most unused, right? The least the least out of those 4 definitions that they say mean yobil or yobel, and they stick ram's horn onto it, right? Even though there's a whole word used for rams, ayal or ayil, that word means ram or a ram, but they said they attached ram to this. What are they trying to hide? You know, look, it usually means jubilees. But every time they're talking about the horn that they're actually using, they say, oh, that's a ram's horn. When they're talking about a jubilee, is the same word for the horn or the shofar that they're actually using, the instrument. The same word is the same word that you use to refer to a jubilee is used to describe that instrument. right? So this must be a very holy instrument, right? This instrument that's supposedly important to the Most High, right? So you'd think that the Hebrews would put this instrument, you know, somewhere where it's very well known, right? Well referenced. I showed you how the Incas, they used this 3,000 years ago, according to them. The oldest, they used it for religious ceremonies, right? They used the conch for religious ceremonies. But in only about 4 times, 1 time in Exodus and 4 times in Joshua 6, they used the word ram's horn. The rest of it is jubilees. Joshua 6, they say ram's horn, ram's horn, ram's horn. Right? So I'm just making that point because it's not hard for them to simply say, well, this is what it meant when it didn't mean that. It's not hard for them to do that, especially if they don't want you to play that instrument. They don't want you to play the real instrument. So let's go to this, because they even know, even the face rats know how important the conch is to the Hebrews. Let's read this. The conch pendant is in the pendant series based on Jewish art motifs and sources. The Sukkah soul pendants offer a connection to our past, so we feel close to our history. The pendant is made out of cast bronze using the ancient lost wax method and is a signed limited edition of museum quality. Inspired by ancient coins and seals, the pendants are worn by women and men for casual dress and attire. Inspiration: conch shell above, Torah niche. The conch pendant is inspired by the conch shell above the Torah niche in ancient Jewish art. The first and last letters of the Proto-Hebrew alphabet are below the conch, the Aleph and Tav, written right to left. They symbolize all knowledge in Torah. Conch shell in ancient art. The conch shell is an ancient symbol used by many cultures. It is found in images of the Torah shrine. The conch shell? The niche for the scrolls located on the wall facing Jerusalem in ancient synagogues. The conch form is a natural fit inside the gabel, the architectural element at the top of structures. Over time, the conch became a motif related to the Torah shrine. How is the conch so important to these people? They don't live in an area, supposedly if they're in the Mediterranean, they don't live in an area where, conches are being used in that way. That's something that is Asian, quote unquote. That's an Asian custom. That's an American custom. That's not something that those people use or used. Over time, the conch became a motif related to the Torah shrine. The Torah shrine in ancient synagogues is connected conceptually with the temple. Its position at the top of the niche, which served as an ark in Europos synagogue, stressed the spiritual meaning given to the conch in Jewish traditions. From this position, it served to protect the Torah and to bestow a feeling of security on behalf of the invisible almighty power. Why is this so important? Why? The conch is so important, to the Jewish clan or the Judaic clan that was over there in the Middle East. Why? This is the inside of a conch shell right here. This picture right here. Look. That's the inside. That's the inside of a conch shell. Let's go to another picture. That's Tav and Aleph and Tav, I guess. Look at that. Look at that. That's the inside of a conch. Right? Look at that. That's supposedly the altar, I'm guessing. I don't know what that is, but I do see a conch. Why would a conch be so important unless they're using the conch? I don't see ram's horns there. I see a conch. Conch shell and and a stone. I guess stone art. right? There's another conch shell. There's another one right above the altar. See, this seems to be very, very important. Very important. Why would it be so important? And they didn't even pick up on this stuff. Well, you see what I mean? This is why they try to hide our stuff. They don't want us to use our real instruments, you know, the real stuff. They don't want us to do that. So let's go to some of our Hebrews who are scattered to different places and or did things historically that are literally exactly the same thing as what the people of Judah did or the people of Levi did. The conch trumpets. Aztec musicians were named for the instruments they played. A shell trumpet blower was I'm not going to say that word. Actually, it's not that hard. Qui Zawni. Zoani. Qui Zoani. Or Zoani. That sounds like Zoan, which is, I think, the Egyptian Zion. That's interesting because of the Maya and their connection with the ancient Egyptians, or really the ancient Tamarayans. And this gives us some idea of how specialized and highly developed musical practice was. That sounds kind of interesting and similar to something I just read about 10 minutes ago, right? There were 7 different kinds of what? How many? 7 different kinds of conch, the largest of which were called the quiquiz. I'm not going to even try. But another interesting thing is that the li at the end of words is, that's specifically native to some sort of Hebrew tongue. The instrument had sacred and ancient associations with the sea, with a call to prayer, with the underworld, with the moon, with fertility, with the wind god, who had the power to blow life into a void, just as the blower blows life into an object, the conch, that would otherwise remain lifeless forever. Its haunting sound harkened back to the primordial blast. The blast. What was the word used? Yobal or Yobel was used to signify a blast of some sort of wind instrument. And they said it was a ram's horn. No, the hell it wasn't. This is a very ancient thing. They don't want you to use it. Of the world produced in the underworld by Quetzalcoatl, heralding the creation of humankind. The conch trumpet was a time-keeping and announcing instrument blown regularly 4 times during the day and 5 times during the night, and can be seen clearly being played at the front of a procession in the main image top from the codex, and you can see that word. Note, by the way, that we can tell the sounds were deep thanks to the dark gray sound marks shown coming from the conch. Conch shell horns were also part of military equipment. You gotta be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. Blown perhaps in a similar fashion to more modern brass bulges as calls for battle to begin when Aztec armies engaged in actual combat. Really? I mean, just like what I just read you? I don't think I need to read it anymore. I'll leave this link in the description if you guys want to check it out. But let me go to this last one. The Horagai, a conch shell trumpet from samurai times. A while ago, we did a post about conch shell trumpets that date back to ancient Aztec times. While researching Asian Pacific instruments, we found similar shell trumpets in Tibet, Korea, the Pacific Islands, and Japan. Here's more about the Japanese version of this unique instrument. Although conch trumpets can be found in various locations around the world, Japanese versions, horagai or jinkai, are a bit unusual. They consist not only of the large conch shell, but also of a wooden or brass mouthpiece that allows the instrument to make a series of sounds, as opposed to only one loud blast or note. So this is a bit different. This is more of a flute. But hear what they just said. It's a large conch. And the bigger the conch, I think the deeper the sound. I think that's how it usually works. Right? That's why they have deep conches. That's why I showed you that wooden piece of, of the Moshe, right? Blowing the conch, blowing the shell. The Moshe, the Moses people, the Levites are blowing the conch. They're not blowing a ram's horn. Mostly closely connected with Buddhist monks such as the Yamabushi warrior monks in Japan. We're going to go over that in my Gada Homie Zulu South African connection video. Each group or school would learn to play the instrument in different ways and to produce different melodies. Historically, records show that the horagai was used in various Buddhist rituals that date back at least 1,000 years or so. And now the original Buddhists, if you do a little bit of research on Japan, and I have to do a part two to my series on the lost tribes of Sinim, but they were the Israelites. The original Buddhists, they came from India, and the Israelites were the Nagas of India, who were the Maya, right? These shell trumpets can be seen in present-day Japan in religious ceremonies such as the omizutori. I love Japanese, so easy. Water drawing, which is part of the Shin'i rites at the Todajin in Nara. When used by the Yamabushi as Celtic warrior monks of the Shugendo sect, the instrument would both accompany the chanting of sutras or prayers, as well as the signal their presence or moves throughout the mountain region where they lived. Because the temperatures in these high mountains could easily drop below zero, it is said that the wooden or bronze mouthpiece was added so that the trumpeter's lips would not freeze to the shell in the extreme cold. So there you go. That's why they put it on. When used in samurai times, the jinkai or war shell, the war shell would play different combinations of notes to signal troops to attack, withdraw, or change battle plans. It was sometimes used to confuse the enemy, who might misread the number of troops attacking or the various battle signals might be. As you might guess, an experienced trumpeter called a kai yaku would have to be an adept musician and would be greatly valued by Japanese feudal lords or samurais for their talents. To learn more about, so there you go, bro. There you go. And you have this stuff is endless. You can look in the conch continuously. It is not a ram's horn. They did that so you wouldn't use the conch, and to, further disconnect you from your original culture. Because all this stuff came from South America. The Nagas came from South America. I showed you that the Taino Indians came from the Andes. And they spread, right? They spread to Central America or the top of South America, went to India. From India, they went to the Middle East, Ethiopia, Japan, right? Everything came from South America. Shalom, Selah Kala.